My mother sold our family land without telling me. When I asked why, she said, "You'll waste it like everything else." My brother bought it from her for $1 and demolished my childhood home. I cried in the field where it once stood, then opened the safety deposit box my father left me that held the legal clause for. I was born in Lexington, Kentucky, and I always thought I'd die there too. Not in some dramatic way, just eventually. In that same house I grew up in. The one my father built with his own 2 hands back in the early 70s. It sat on 10 acres just a little outside the city, close enough to hear traffic if the wind blew right, far enough to feel like the middle of nowhere. My dad used to say the land would take care of us if we took care of it. I believed him. Growing up, the place was paradise to me. We had an old barn that leaned a little more every year, 2 huge oak trees in front of the house where my brother Nathan and I would climb and carve our initials, and a creek that ran behind the property where we'd fish and catch frogs. It wasn't a fancy house, plain white siding, a wraparound porch, tin roof, but it was home. Every corner held memories. Every crack in the walls meant something. My dad passed when I was 23. Just dropped dead on a Tuesday afternoon. Heart attack. He was mowing the side field. I was the one who found him, still gripping the mower handle, eyes open but gone. Nathan was already living in Nashville by then, chasing some big real estate dreams with his new wife, Kendra. He drove in for the funeral, stayed 2 nights, and left. I stayed. After the funeral, Mom, Nathan, and I met with the lawyer. Dad had left everything to Mom: house, land, savings. I remember thinking that felt right at the time. She was his wife, after all. But the lawyer handed me a small key in a plastic bag. "Your father said this was for you. When the time's right," he said. Safety deposit box at the 5th Third downtown. I put it in my desk drawer and forgot about it. I didn't leave Lexington. I never felt like I could. Part of it was Mom. She started having trouble with her joints, and someone had to help her get to appointments, pick up groceries, deal with repairs. But mostly, I just couldn't walk away from the land. I spent the next 10 years doing all the things Dad used to do. Cutting grass, fixing fences, cleaning the gutters, keeping the place alive. Nathan never came back. Not really. Holidays sometimes. A birthday every few years. He was too busy with open houses and development deals. Kendra had him dressing in tailored pants and loafers. I don't say that like I'm bitter. He made his choices. But he never once asked how Mom was holding up or how the roof was doing after a storm. I was the one who stayed. I was the one who kept it all from falling apart. Then last fall, I pulled up the drive and saw that red and white sign, "Sold." I parked so fast, I didn't even kill the engine before I was through the front door. Mom was sitting at the kitchen table doing a crossword. "What the hell is going on?" I asked. She didn't even flinch. Just circled something on the paper. I said, "What is going on?" "I sold the land," she said, like she was telling me the weather. "To who?" "To Nathan." I felt my stomach drop. "How much?" $1. I just stared at her. "Why would you do that?" She looked up at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. "Because you'd waste it. Like everything else." It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. Cold. Like she'd been waiting years to say it. Like every time I patched a fence or replanted a tree didn't mean a damn thing. In that moment, I saw clearly she'd never respected me. Not once. I left without another word. Drove out behind the barn and sat in the field until the sun went down. I cried. I'm not ashamed to say it. I cried so hard my chest hurt. That was the last place Dad and I ever talked. The place he taught me how to drive the tractor. The spot where we buried our old dog, Boomer. And now it was gone. Given away for $1. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a neighbor. "Hey," he said. "You see what's going on over there?" I hadn't. I drove over and saw it: bulldozers, dump trucks. And Nathan, standing there in a polo shirt, pointing and directing like he owned the place. Because legally he did. I parked across the road and watched as they took down the house beam by beam. The porch where I used to sit and drink coffee? Gone in 30 minutes. The chimney Dad spent a month laying brick by brick? Leveled to dust. The oak tree out front? They cut it like it was nothing. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't yell. I just stood there, numb. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that safety deposit box. The key was still in my desk drawer, right where I left it a decade ago. The next morning, I went to the bank, signed the logbook, waited while they unlocked the metal door. Inside the box was a single envelope with my name on it. I opened it right there at the desk. Inside was a legal clause, a signed, notarized document that said, in my father's handwriting, in the event the family property is sold or transferred to any party before both sons are given equal legal ownership, the transfer is void. Full title shall revert to my son. My full name, effective immediately. It had dates, signatures, witnesses, everything it needed. My hands started shaking. They thought I was just the dumb son who stayed home. They thought I'd let it go. They were wrong. I didn't tell anyone what I found that day. Not yet. I walked out of the bank with that document in my hands and felt something I hadn't felt in years, control. Not hope. Not joy. Just the sense that, for once, I wasn't the one being walked over. I made copies. Lots of them. Then I called a lawyer, a quiet, older man named Frank Dunlop, who still had an office downtown. He was the type who still kept paper files in thick manila folders. I gave him the document. He read it twice before he leaned back in his chair and said, "You may have something here." That same week, Nathan sent out invites to a groundbreaking ceremony. He was planning to build 4 luxury homes on the land, called the Project Oak Crest Estates. I found a flyer at the gas station with a fake rendering of a smiling family in front of a new brick house. My stomach turned. I called him. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. He laughed. "Because it's mine. And I can." "You didn't even ask me. You knew I lived here. You knew what this place meant. You're 43 and live in a shack. It's time to let go." That was it. No apology. No guilt. Just cruelty, clean and sharp. My lawyer filed the paperwork 2 days later. A motion to void the land transfer based on the legal clause in my father's document. We also filed for an injunction to stop any building until it could be sorted out in court. The judge granted it. Nathan was served the next morning at his fancy downtown office. That's when things really started to turn ugly. First, Mom called, screaming. Said I had humiliated the family. That I was trying to destroy everything Nathan built. I let her rant. Then I asked one question. "Did you know about the clause?" She hung up. Then came the letters. From Nathan's lawyer. Threatening countersuits. Calling the clause invalid. Saying I waited too long to assert ownership. Frank handled it all. Said, "Let them throw noise. The paper's solid." But Nathan wasn't done. That weekend, I came home from the grocery store and found the barn had been broken into. Someone kicked the door off the hinges. My tools were gone. The old riding mower I used for years stripped. There was a spray-painted message on the inside wall. "You don't belong here." I called the sheriff, filed a report. Nothing came of it. No cameras, no witnesses, they said. Then my truck was keyed. Twice. Then my mailbox was blown up. I started carrying a gun again. I didn't want to, but I didn't feel safe. At court, things got tense. Nathan showed up in a tailored suit, all smirks and arrogance. Mom sat next to him like a statue, refusing to look at me. I looked at the judge and told the truth. About the land. About what my dad meant when he said it would take care of us if we took care of it. I told them I stayed not because I was lazy, but because it was home. Nathan called me a leech in his testimony. Said I'd never contributed anything of value. The judge listened. Didn't say much. Took it under review. That night, I drove back to the field where the house used to stand. The dirt was torn up. Stakes with pink flags marked where new homes were supposed to go. I stood there with my flashlight and thought about everything I'd lost. Then I noticed something. One of the stakes had my name on it. It wasn't printed. It was carved into the wood. Deep. And under it the word, deadbeat. Someone was trying to scare me. Or maybe just break me down. But all it did was make the fire burn hotter. They started it. A week after that last court hearing, I got a call from Frank, my lawyer. "Do you know a man named Gerald King?" he asked. I did. Gerald was my dad's old friend from church. They built fences together back in the day. Went fishing on weekends. After Dad passed, Gerald moved to Louisville to be closer to his daughter. I hadn't seen him in years. "He called my office this morning," Frank said. "Said he was one of the witnesses on your father's document." I already knew that. His signature was there. Frank continued. "He says your father didn't just write that clause. He recorded a video the same day, explaining why he wrote it and what he wanted done with the land." My stomach dropped. Gerald told Frank he'd been holding onto the tape all these years, just in case there was ever a misunderstanding. He said he hadn't heard from our family since the funeral, so he figured there was no need to get involved, until he saw Nathan in a news clip talking about his legacy project at Oak Crest Estates. That's when he knew something wasn't right. I met Gerald in person 2 days later. He handed me a worn-out VHS tape in a cracked plastic case. I had to dig out an old combo TV/VCR from my mom's basement to play it. When I pressed play, my father's face filled the screen. He looked tired. Sick even. I think he knew his heart was giving out. He looked right into the camera and said, "If you're watching this, it means Margaret and the boys didn't see eye to eye." He explained everything. How he knew Mom would default to Nathan if he wasn't specific. How he worried Nathan would try to develop the land and erase everything he built. How he made the clause legal, witnessed, notarized, and tucked away in the deposit box. He ended the video with this: "I love both my sons, but only one of them treated this place like home." I sat there watching it 3 times, back to back, barely breathing. Frank was floored. "We'll introduce this as evidence," he said. "No judge is going to ignore it." Meanwhile, Nathan doubled down. His lawyers filed a motion claiming I forged the document. Said the signature looked digitally replicated. They didn't know about the tape yet. But something strange happened that same week. I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photocopy of a tax document, one that showed Mom transferred the land under a temporary clause, not a full deed. It meant the land technically wasn't sold, just assigned, pending full ownership. And that meant the clause in Dad's document still held weight. Maybe even more than we thought. Then came the second shock. The zoning board halted Nathan's building permit. Turns out, someone anonymously reported that the land might have been transferred illegally under duress. That wasn't me. I asked around. Gerald said it wasn't him either. But 2 days later, I got a voicemail from Kendra, Nathan's wife. She sounded shaken. "I shouldn't be calling you," she said. "But you need to know. Nathan forged part of the paperwork. The transfer. He pressured your mom. She didn't even read what she signed." Then she hung up. I tried calling back. No answer. The next day, Kendra filed for divorce. Quietly. But it made the local paper because of Nathan's business ties. It was like watching dominoes fall. But I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Because the last message I got wasn't from a lawyer. It was from my mother. A voicemail. And in it, she said something I didn't expect. "I need to tell you the truth about what your father really left you." I played that voicemail for my mother 10 times before I finally called her back. She didn't answer. I drove over to her new place, the condo Nathan bought for her after he took the land. She opened the door like she'd been waiting. She looked older, smaller. Her voice cracked when she finally spoke. "I didn't know what I was signing," she said. "He brought papers. Said it was a trust, to protect the land." "You didn't read it?" "I trusted him," she said. "He told me you'd let the place rot." I sat down across from her in the small, clean living room. No photos. No items. Just cold, beige furniture and empty space. "I thought I was doing what your father would have wanted," she said. "No," I said. "You didn't think. You just believed the one who talked louder." She didn't argue. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "Your father left a second document. In his Bible. The one I gave away." "What?" "He wrote something else. Not legal, but personal. I drove straight to the Goodwill in Nicholasville where she said she donated the Bible. Miraculously, it was still there, sitting on a shelf with other old books for $3. Inside the back cover was a folded letter. It was from my dad. It read, "If Nathan ever tries to take the land, and if Margaret helps him, let them. Let them believe they've won. But if you find this, know I always meant it for you. Because you stayed. Because you saw what it meant. Don't fight them for revenge. Fight them to make it right. You're not weak. You're just patient." I sat in the parking lot holding that letter like it was the last part of him I'd ever get. Then I called Frank. We submitted the video, the letter, and the voicemail from Kendra. Her affidavit was devastating. She laid it all out, how Nathan had manipulated our mom, forged dates on the paperwork, and bragged that the dumb brother would never notice. She even handed over emails and texts backing up her story. In court, everything changed. The judge reviewed the evidence, and for the first time, Nathan looked nervous. Then the ruling came. The land transfer was declared null and void. The clause in my father's will was upheld. Full legal ownership of the property, house or not, was transferred to me. The court didn't stop there. Nathan was fined for document fraud and is now under investigation for similar transfers on other properties. His business collapsed. News spread fast. Clients pulled out. Investors bailed. Oak Crest Estates? Dead before it started. Kendra got everything she asked for in the divorce, including half his assets and the vacation house in Chattanooga. Mom didn't come to the final hearing. She sent a note. "I was wrong," it said. "I don't expect forgiveness. But I know now you were the only one who stayed." I didn't reply. I walked the land alone that night. The fields were quiet. The oak stump still sat where the tree used to be. I ran my hand over the bark they'd left behind, the old carving barely visible. N+D, 1989. I thought about rebuilding. Not just the house, but everything. I didn't want revenge. I got something better. I got it all back. And they lost what mattered most, who they thought they were. Nathan, the success. Mom, the righteous matriarch. In the end, I was the one who honored Dad's legacy. Not with lawsuits or shouting matches, but with truth, with patience, and a letter in an old Bible that reminded me who I was, and who I'd always been.